The Haunting of Blackwood Manor. My name is James, and I am a historian specializing in the restoration of old estates. When I received the commission to restore Blackwood Manor, I was thrilled. The manor, located in the remote countryside, was a magnificent example of Victorian architecture, albeit in a state of disrepair. The owners, a wealthy family who had inherited the property, wanted to restore it to its former glory and turn it into a museum. Little did I know, this project would lead me into a nightmare that would forever change my life. From the moment I arrived at Blackwood Manor, I felt an unsettling presence. The air was thick with an oppressive atmosphere, and the once grand halls were now filled with shadows and decay. The manor had been abandoned for decades, and nature had begun to reclaim it. Ivy crept up the walls, and the windows were covered in grime. Despite the eerie feeling, I was determined to bring the manor back to life. As I began my work, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The first few days were uneventful, but then strange things started happening. Tools would go missing, only to reappear in odd places. I would hear footsteps echoing through the empty halls, but when I went to investigate, there was no one there. At night, I would hear whispers, soft and indistinct, as if someone was trying to communicate with me. I tried to rationalize these occurrences, attributing them to the creaks and groans of an old house settling. One evening, as I was working late, I heard a loud crash from the library. I rushed to the room and found that a large, ornate mirror had fallen off the wall and shattered into pieces. As I stood there, staring at the broken glass, I felt a chill run down my spine. In the reflection of the shards, I saw a figure standing behind me. I spun around, but there was no one there. My heart raced as I tried to convince myself that it was just a trick of the light. The next day, I decided to delve into the history of Blackwood Manor. I visited the local archives and discovered that the manor had a dark past. It was built in the late 1800s by the Blackwood family, who were known for their wealth and influence. However, tragedy struck when the youngest daughter, Eliza, mysteriously disappeared. Her body was never found, and rumors of foul play and dark rituals began to circulate. The family fell into ruin, and the manor was eventually abandoned. As I continued my research, I found more disturbing stories. Several people who had attempted to restore the manor before me had either gone missing or left abruptly, claiming the place was haunted. The locals believed that Eliza's spirit still roamed the halls, seeking justice for her untimely death. Despite these warnings, I was determined to complete my work. I couldn't let superstition get in the way of my professional responsibilities. One night, as I was reviewing some old blueprints in the study, I heard a soft, sobbing sound. It seemed to be coming from the basement. I grabbed a flashlight and cautiously made my way down the narrow, winding staircase. The basement was cold and damp, filled with old furniture and forgotten relics. The sobbing grew louder as I approached a small, locked door at the far end of the room. My hands trembled as I fumbled with the key, finally managing to unlock the door. Inside, I found a small, hidden chamber. The walls were covered in strange symbols, and in the center of the room was a makeshift altar. On the altar lay a dusty old diary. I picked it up and began to read. The diary belonged to Eliza, and it detailed her life at Blackwood Manor. She wrote about her family's dark secrets, their involvement in occult practices, and her growing fear for her safety. The last entry was particularly chilling. She wrote about a ritual her family was planning, one that required a human sacrifice. She feared that she would be the chosen one. As I read the final words, I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. I turned around and saw the ghostly figure of a young girl. Her eyes were filled with sorrow and fear. She reached out to me, and I felt an overwhelming sense of sadness. I knew then that Eliza's spirit was trapped in the manor, unable to move on. She was seeking justice for the horrors she had endured. Determined to help her, I decided to confront the dark forces that held her captive. I sought the help of a local priest who was known for his expertise in exorcisms. Father Thomas was a kind, elderly man who had dealt with many cases of paranormal activity. He agreed to come to the manor and perform a cleansing ritual. The night of the exorcism was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. As Father Thomas began the ritual, the temperature in the room dropped and the air became thick with a malevolent presence. The walls seemed to close in on us, and the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Objects flew across the room, and the lights flickered ominously. Father Thomas continued to chant, his voice steady and unwavering. Suddenly, a dark, shadowy figure appeared in the corner of the room. It was a grotesque, twisted form, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. It lunged at Father Thomas, but he stood his ground, holding up a crucifix. The figure recoiled, letting out a blood-curdling scream. The room shook violently, and I felt a searing pain in my chest. I fell to the floor, gasping for breath. Just as I thought I couldn't endure anymore, the figure vanished, and the room fell silent. Father Thomas helped me to my feet, and I saw that the oppressive atmosphere had lifted. The manor felt lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted. Eliza's spirit appeared before us, her expression one of gratitude and peace. She smiled at me, and then she was gone, her soul finally free. In the days that followed, I continued my work on the manor with a renewed sense of purpose. The strange occurrences ceased, and the oppressive atmosphere was replaced with a sense of tranquility. The restoration was completed, and Blackwood Manor was transformed into a beautiful museum, a testament to its rich history and the resilience of the human spirit. Visitors to the museum often comment on the peaceful ambiance of the manor, unaware of the dark history that once plagued it. I sometimes catch a glimpse of Eliza's spirit, watching over the place she once called home. I know that she is finally at peace, and that brings me a sense of fulfillment and closure. The experience at Blackwood Manor changed me in ways I could never have imagined. It taught me the importance of confronting the past, no matter how dark, and the power of compassion and understanding. I continue my work as a historian, but I am now more attuned to the stories that old buildings hold, the whispers of the past that seek to be heard. Blackwood Manor will always hold a special place in my heart, a reminder of the courage it takes to face the unknown and the strength of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of hauntings.